Newly unearthed magazine covers from World War I show American soldiers arriving in Europe to fight alongside the Allies. The U.S. servicemen can be seen traveling to the continent and training in trench warfare in the French countryside. The pictures, on display at the USS Texas Museum, were discovered at the University of Sheffield Library and show America's vital contribution to the defeat of Germany. The historic images, originally published in British wartime magazine War Illustrated, have been compiled by Dr. Jonathan Rayner of the university's English School. The collection gives an insight into the involvement of the U.S. Navy in the war effort with photographs of ships such as the American dreadnought USS New York, taken from Manhattan as she was sailing down the East River on her way to war. The dreadnought USS Delaware, hailed at the time as one of the monsters of the Navy, also appears in the collection. USS Parker and USS Banham, two of America's swiftest destroyers, can be seen steaming at full speed on a special military run. In others, officers are pictured aboard submarine chasers, small craft only 40 feet long, that were essential in the battle against German U-boats which were threatening to starve Britain of vital supplies and into surrender. American troops can also be seen training for the dangerous trench warfare which awaited them in France. Men of the 2nd Field Artillery of the New York National Guard practiced the daring horsemanship that made them famous across America, and Marines carry out rifle drills aboard a ship of the U.S. Atlantic Fleet. Dr. Jonathan Rayner said, "The collection of images provides a fascinating new perspective into America's involvement in the First World War." Share this article. Share it features images and illustrations that accompanied reports by journalists who were reporting from the battlefields and seas across Europe for people who were back home in Britain. During the War Illustrated magazine was hugely popular among people in Britain. In its early days it was sensationalist and patriotic in nature, but it became a more reliable and respected source of journalism with personal accounts of the war from its correspondents who were often on the front line. It also published descriptions and illustrations to report events from the battlefield and ran comment pieces from writers and politicians reflecting on wartime events. The images, on display at the USS Texas Museum in Houston, provide a renewed insight into the significant role that the U.S. played in the war, particularly at sea. Dr. Rayner added, "Despite having the largest naval force in the world, Britain's Royal Navy still needed the assistance of its allies to win the war at sea." The United States Navy helped defend trade, escort merchant ships and hunt German U-boats. In the First World War, both sides expected battle fleet engagements to decide not only control of the sea, but the entire war. Britain concentrated its battleships in a Grand Fleet based in Scotland to oppose the German High Seas Fleet. Upon America's entry, Battleship Division 9, composed of the USS Arkansas, Delaware, Florida, New York, Texas, and Wyoming, extended the Allied forces' superiority in battleship strength. The U.S. Navy's ships operated alongside British ships for a year without ever getting a chance to engage the German fleet. Nonetheless, a close friendship grew between the U.S. and Royal Navies from this cooperation. When King George V visited the fleet in July 1918, he welcomed the opportunity to see the splendid ships of the United States in line with our own. Additionally, the British press gave the public an opportunity to appreciate the U.S. Navy's monster ships in War Illustrated.